Good evening, my name is Rudy Visscher, and tonight's top stories. My mighty return to the journalism spotlight as CRN transitions control once again. Sneezes and sniffles turn diplomatic as we cover the international conference in Western Union. War, what is it good for as fighting breaks out across the globe. Focusing on the story, a tale about the interregional alliance based on frontierism and where it is today. And finally, new news is news to my ears, as many different news agencies do various shenanigans this month. This is Communitas Regional News. Good evening. This is Communitas Regional News, and my name is Rudy Visscher. Yes, it is really me. The reports of my death were premature, although not, I'll admit, entirely unreasonable. On the 1st of April of this year, this very studio was taken over by the LCRE. I was nearly shot, I was dragged, I was presumed gone, and I was, for a time, lost. The place that I went to wasn't a prison. It was a laboratory of control. There were dark rooms, masked faces, electroshocked, attempted hypnosis, attempts to erase not just my memory, but my voice. But that voice endured. I endured. And on the 14th of November, after months of silence, I was found. Discovered by members of what is now being called the Lytho-Czecnian resistance movements. They stormed a stronghold in the small village of Frenton. Their casualties 2,000. LCRE's casualties estimated at 1/5 that number and falling. But it was enough. Enough to breach the doors, enough to break the machines, and enough to drag me, barely conscious, into the cold air of freedom. 2 days later, after endless scans, tests, and whispered meetings behind hospital doors, I was asked a single question. Do you want to return to CRN? And I've told them one word. Yes. So here I am, not a puppet, not a martyr, and definitely not dead. I want to take this time to personally thank Mr. Anzlo Pulitzer for stepping in during my absence. I've read the transcripts of his broadcasts, I've watched his footage. He has kept this flame burning when many tried to snuff it out, and for that he does have my full respect. His quote in the Lytho-Czechnian Times saying that CRN was built on my shoulders was very generous. But this station was not just built on my shoulders, but everyone's shoulders. Anzlo's, the viewers, the writers, and the truth seekers, which is why today I have taken full control of this station once again. Not just the desk, not just the microphone, but the entire corporation. As of this morning, I have filed a formal inquisition into the ownership structure of CRN with one goal: to remove all Lytho-Czechnian government influence from our board. They took control of the Communitas Regional News in order to make sure that LCRE did not regain control, and for that we do support them. However, this is not their mouthpiece. It's not LCRE's mouthpiece, but it's the world's mouthpiece. We have had attempts from the LCRE and the legislature, in my absence, attempting to control the narrative by shutting down Mr. Pulitzer's journalism, my journalism, controlling LCRE itself when they don't work. Truth is not a commodity, and if I have to remind this world of that, I will. Welcome back, Communitas. This is Communitas Regional News, and I am Rudy Visscher. Well, if you've sneezed more than twice in the last 24 hours, congratulations! You might be the lucky winner of Envy Bro, the latest viral sensation sweeping this globe faster than a Sith Order funding proposal. September brought whispers. October brings congestion. Symptoms range from a mild sniffle to apparently full body paralysis, which conveniently is how most delegates were already behaving at the latest conference, held not in Lytho-Czechnia, or the Communitarian States, or JASH, or any of these previous locations, but embrace yourself, in Western Union. Yeah, Western Union. The same Western Union that is currently torn between a functioning government and Bruckerian rebels. But hey, At least the conference room was available, I guess. The agenda was to propose a solution to the pandemic, or at the very least propose a committee to think about proposing a solution. Enter stage left, communitarian states who pitched a refreshingly grounded idea to form a World Health Organization under the already established Civilian Council, which rotates host nations every 2 years, and is currently set up in Aachen. Now enter stage right, the Sith Order, who unveil their counter-proposal, also called the World Health Organization, but this time accompanied by technology that is far beyond our comprehension. Because nothing says global trust like a mandatory vaccination and technology where only one country can even pronounce the materials correctly. Tensions rose, politeness sank, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Mr. Waldar Eriksson, our sparklingly fresh president of Lytho-Czecnia, was spotted leaving the conference with Chalcedony Lapis of Vikerund, the two reportedly comparing muscle sizes. A diplomatic ritual, I'm told. Unfortunately, some of the observers have now said that Lapis does not look well, and no, are not just from the ego damage. Sources close to the event now suggest that Lapis may have contracted MVBro from Eriksson himself, who is currently asymptomatic and is deeply confused about what a pathogen is. Of course, Eriksson wasn't supposed to be there at all, but was strongly encouraged by the elected General Administrator Stefan Visscher, my own twin brother, to attend, quote, at least one international conference like a good public servant. With him is Henrietta, a personal assistant from Chairlady Viatella Gray's office, reportedly there to gain work experience. Given the current conditions, one would assume that that includes learning how to leave a room quickly. Meanwhile, Idelzi's delegation, represented by the one and only Lizelle, exited the summer altogether, citing logistical complications and rampant mechanoid prejudice. This may or may not be related to Idelzi declaring war on Narodovia, but we'll get to that later. For now, the WHO exists. In name only. No structure, no staffing, no budget. But at least the name is agreed on, which in international politics might actually be a win. If there's one thing to take away from this, it's this. Don't shake hands, don't trust diplomats, and definitely don't compare biceps with Waldar Eriksson. You know, when I stepped back into the studio after a rather unplanned sabbatical, I'd hoped my first week back wouldn't involve 3 separate declarations of war. And yet, here we are, not 1, not 2, but 3 very real, very explosive flashpoints that have ignited across the globe, each uglier than the last, and all of them erupting in the same breath as an uncontrolled viral outbreak. Let's begin at home, or at least just down the street. On the 4th of November 1969, the Lytho-Czechnian Radical Expansionist Party, LCRE for short, ego for long, formally declared war, or as they like to call it, a war on tyranny. Their demands? Full independence for the western districts of Central, Hranek and Haystone, the right to form their own military, and a rewritten constitution that allows for true district autonomy. Their wording was dramatic. We quote, "We do not fear your police officers, we do not fear your timidly written words upon parchment, and we do not fear your silence." Well, they certainly got that last one right. The Lytho-Czechnian government, ever the master of their pacifist principles, has elected not to respond. No press release, no mobilisation, not even a firmly worded declaration. Meanwhile, LCRE holds several key western cities and is apparently preparing for a longer siege. Now, while the government may be playing ostrich, there are others fighting, notably the Lytho-Czechnian Resistance, a coalition of rebel fighters who have actually been doing something, including saving yours truly last week. That war's not on paper, but it is in the streets. Meanwhile, in the north of Communitas, it's reunification versus independence, as Idelzi has declared war on Narodovia, threatening to return unlawfully possessed lands by any means necessary, including what they chillingly described as littering the seas with Narodovian corpses. Idelzi's Archon Zeus gave Narodovia 5 days to evacuate citizens from the claimed territory. Nordovia, meanwhile, has drawn its line in the sand. General Secretary Alexei Zimov called for international support and arms in what they are framing as a defence against territorial aggression during their most vulnerable moment, which is the Envy Bro pandemic. So far, official battle lines haven't really moved much. There has been aggression made, but the rhetoric is the one that is the most rampant. The seas are heating up, and unless someone cools them down, we may all be swimming in the nuclear fallout. And finally, as if one internal war wasn't enough, Umbrathor has decided to implode. Following the resignation of the King's Hand, the closest thing to a Minister of Defence, the ruling crown has declared a full-scale civil war against what they are calling traitors and enemies of the Grand Kingdom. For those unfamiliar, Umbrathor is famously isolationist. Try flying a weather balloon into their skies and you'll be lucky you don't come down faster than your lunch. Still, from what we do know, the capital is being fortified, factions are forming in the nation, and the king himself has made a stirring plea for loyalty. And no, foreign involvement is not only discouraged, it's borderline suicidal. In summary, we've got 4 ongoing wars, including the Western Union's quarrel with their own rebels, half a dozen political breakdowns, and a whole lot of chest-pounding rhetoric pushed upon the peoples of Communitas. And just think, we haven't even made it to December. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. For tonight's 4th story, we turn our attention outward, beyond the in-character storylines and regional intrigue, to an ongoing development in the gameplay world, the slow, quiet unravelling of a once promising alliance. Its name is Focus, the frontier organisation for cooperation, unity and security. founded on the bold ideals and written into existence by the likes of Mario Grunzi and Pauline Bonaparte. It sought to champion a new wave of regional coordination grounded in frontierism, the belief that frontier regions were not only the gateway for new players into the nation-state's world, but the bedrock of a thriving international community. Its core literature on True Frontiers, on Wasteland and others envisioned focus as a vehicle for support, mutual defence and steady development across this new rising world. But apparently somewhere along the way, the compass cracked. When the region of Community began to stagnate, Communitas emerged as its spiritual successor. Yet even as focus expanded, eventually incorporating Vibonia and the Wellspring, administrative lag still plagued it. It took nearly a year to update the Focus Treaty, a full year before the organisation caught up with its own reality. Then, on May the 4th, 2025, came the moment that may have broken the alliance for good. Carcassonne, a founding Focus member, in coordination with Lone Wolves United and the New Pacific Order, launched a raid on the region of Lonia Creptia Law. Worse still, they did so under the Focus banner, without the approval of the other members, a violation of not just trust, but of the treaty itself. Communitas, being our own home region, swiftly issued a statement denying their involvement, stating that, to the best knowledge of our government, the raid was not voted on nor approved by all Focus members. The Wellspring, having already transitioned from a frontier to a stronghold in a deliberate move away from raiding culture, withdrew from Focus in its entirety shortly afterwards. And most recently, on June the 30th, 2025, Vibonia officially exited the alliance. Their recently elected president, Senetica, said, "Activity in Focus has effectively dropped, with no new initiatives organised to maintain the alliance's unity and strength." Carcassonne's continued closeness with the MPO and LWU, whose conduct in the Outback we have publicly condemned, is another point of concern, which leaves only two members, Communitas and Carcassonne. And even questions still float around to this day. A recent commentator from the European Broadcasting Corporation put it quite bluntly in their podcast on the LKL Liberation. Quote, "Carcassonne can't protect the other Focus members. There is zero benefit from being in Focus, in my personal opinion. Considering the new ideologies that Communitas has presented, continued scepticism of original frontierism, as well as the controversies surrounding Maram Granzi and Braza Wayne as Carcassonne alt accounts, we sit here at CRN and wait for what the future will bring." Finally, in the ever-evolving world of news, fresh voices and new partnerships are shaking up the scene. The Commonwealth of Communitarian States has launched its very own Commonwealth Bulletin and Broadcasting Corporation, or CBBC for short, a friendly counterpart to our very own CRN. Excitingly, Anzlo Pulitzer, a familiar Lytho-Czechnian face from our broadcasts, has all but confirmed to take a presenting role with the CBBC, and we at CRN look forward to seeing how he will bring his unique flair to this new stage. But the collaborations don't stop there. Communitarian States has officially joined the Writers Collective, contributing to our shared goal of quality storytelling, journalism, and accuracy across the region. In fact, they've lent their talents in writing stories for this very channel, and also proofreading the Western Union's Herald, helping to keep our community's news sharp and error-free. Meanwhile, the European Broadcasting Corporation has also reached out to Communitas' External Secretary, Communitarian States again, signalling our growing ties between the two regions. For those who are interested in this interview, by the way, there is a link with more details available in the description, so please feel free to check it out after you finish watching this. Finally, whispers around the corridors suggest that there may be two podcast projects in the works. One, an independent collaboration between Western Union, the Vice President of CRN, and Snub, the leader of Wintercrest. The other, potentially under the CRN banner itself, could bring together voices from Lytho-Czechnia, Communitarian States, and Western Union again. Although these plans are still in discussion, the prospect of new conversations and fresh perspectives is definitely something to watch out for. That's all for this time, folks. Stay tuned next time for more Communitas regional news. good night.